Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Bastions and Basilisks. My name is Kalvin.
I am Brandon.
All right, this episode we're gonna go over favorite feats. Not to be confused with it's Feats, not Feets. Although I'm sure Salma Hayek probably has really nice feet. So I'm gonna go least favorite or least of the favorite. Because we're doing 5. Yeah, I know. So I'll do my 5 to 1. So my favorite feat will be last. Unless it's on there for one of them. So for number 5, if I was fancier, I would have had the number 5. So my whole concept. So the running theme with all of this is, it's very helpful for all of the feats are good regardless of class and or race, which is why I'm pulling nothing from Xanathar's, because all of those are race specific. And while some of those are really good, like Elven accuracy is hella good, you have to be an elf.
Yeah.
All of these are good regardless of what class you are currently playing. So for number 5, I picked Resilient. Choose one ability score. You gain the following benefits. Increase the chosen ability score by 1 to a maximum of 20. You gain proficiency in saving throws using the chosen ability. While it may not be, the alert feat or, the mobile feat, it's not something groundbreaking. If you have a character and you have a really low stat, and maybe it's an odd number, you can get a 2 for almost, that you can boost up your lowest stat by 1, hopefully getting it to an even number. And then you're proficient in the saving throw. So then it kind of covers, it's good for covering a weakness in a character. My wizard has a 10 strength. I mean, the +1 strength wouldn't really do much, but having strength proficiency saving throw wouldn't hurt. So that'd be one of those things that somebody wouldn't expect. That's definitely covering a base or covering a weakness, and so at some point they're like, let's target the wizard with a strength saving throw, and I'm like, nice. And I still get, I get a +4, +5, or because whatever my proficiency modifier is. You're like, I was not expecting you to be proficient in that. I'd be like, yeah. So it's very generic, but to me it's a very solid feat.
You definitely thought way harder about this than I did.
I literally just came up with most of that, so it's fine.
Yeah. So mine are just surprisingly, mostly just how I personally want to role play. So they're not necessarily in any specific order, but I will say the one that has the least utility at the moment for me, which is Elemental Adept. Or Adept, however you want to say it. So my entire thing of wanting to use Elemental Adept is actually because I wanted to use it as a gateway to learn Hellfire, which Mephistopheles is one of my favorite archdevils and Devil Lords, however you want to put it. And I've really liked the idea of using the element of fire to ignore resistance and burn devils and such like that, which I know they have immunity or resistance, but still it'd be pretty funny. And that's 90% of the reason why I got this. Also just understanding that you have the ability to, I think you can choose another one.
Yeah, you can take it multiple times.
Yeah, you can take it multiple times and choose different types. You can eventually get the ability to ignore resistance for most of them if you decide to take Elemental Adept several times. But that's really the entire reason why I wanted to take it, is a very specific character of mine actually took this as a feat, and I just Hellfire. That's really it.
Right. Yeah. No. It's definitely a good feat because, like you said, you can't ignore immunity.
Yeah.
But if you're fighting stuff that is resistant, that is, especially if you're like, oh, my character is fire based, and you know, if you have a GM who kind of, once again, if there's a justification for like getting free feats, you know, being gifted free feats for whatever reason because of training or something that your character does in game,
Hmm.
that's a good one for a caster because
Absolutely.
you're like you know you train with somebody, and because of that now you know how to ignore, you know, your acid burns just that much more acidy. I don't know. Your cold's just a little bit colder. Your fire's a little bit hotter. You know, you're throwing out a lot more amps with your lightning, and your thunder's just a lot more power, like booming. Like
It's a little bit louder and a little bit more forceful.
right. You're so, and that's definitely a thing that, I mean, that could change. That can change the tide of battle too, because if you're fighting things that are usually resistant to fire and you're dropping fireballs on them and they're only taking half damage, quarter damage if they make their saving throw, and then you get that feat, like you go through some training and then you drop a fireball on thing, like you're now a threat.
And it's funny because if you're thinking as the enemy, like how it's you see this caster use fireball and they're that automatic like couple seconds they're like, oh, that's not going to really hurt, and then they're just screaming as they're burning. They're like, haha, I am fire. I'm just imagining
Right.
the Human Torch now, but
Right.
like
Burn it
like you
up.
said,
Yeah.
I can see how this can be so useful in multiple different aspects, even outside of my own like character design. This thing actually is really useful. So yeah, I completely agree. It's pretty interesting.
My brother actually had an NPC in a game that kind of had the similar concept where she was trying to. We went to. She kind of got shunted into hell with us, and we carried her around, and she realized her weakness is fighting things that are resistant to fire because she has a lot of fire power because she's an evocationist wizard, and so she studied in hell. I think, you know, justified she took the feat naturally, but you know she was able to figure out how to make her flames burn hotter. Once again,
Yeah.
like
Also,
feats could. I like the idea, and I think this because of you. We've discussed it. I think feats as rewards or justification instead of, you know, I mean, yeah, you get them at certain levels, but there are classes that like not everybody's a fighter, so you're
you
a
don't get
wizard.
like 10 feet.
You're a wizard. You only get your 5 feats. Like you have to choose very carefully what you get. So if you actually get rewarded, but you get feats as a reward, like I really like that idea a lot better. I mean, I probably wouldn't do that in a game, like if I ran a module that, if it, like for the module I'm designing, I wouldn't run it. I'd probably try to run everything by the book, just to make sure that it functions by the book
Hmm.
before adding in. But like my own non-module based adventure, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. Players are going to get ridiculous anyway, but I think definitely choosing feats as a reward is a cool. Anyway,
Also, something that I completely forgot to mention: if you roll a 1 on damage die, it is considered a 2.
yeah, it's so.
Dealing with that, like that
Right, yeah.
element, I should
You should be.
probably.
I feel like you should just re-roll it. I don't like the fact that you treat it as a one. It should, but I guess you're using a lot more dice than a fighter would be, who uses great weapon fighting.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, all right, so my next one is in. Nope, not Tal'Dorei. Um, so this actually kind of takes something from the Player's Handbook and also takes something from Xanathar's, but that one once again was racial specific. Skill expert. You have honed your proficiency with particular skills, granting you the following benefits: increase in one ability score of your choice by 1 to a maximum of 20. You gain a proficiency in one skill of your choice. Choose one skill of which you have proficiency. You gain expertise by that skill, which means you proficiency is doubled. The skill you choose must be one that isn't already benefiting from features such as expertise that doubles your proficiency bonus. So that's a whole lot of fluff, unnecessary fluff. But you get a skill and you get expertise, which I hate that there's no way for characters to get proficiency without taking a feat.
Oh, I agree.
I mean,
Like that's one thing
technically, I think in Xanathars you can be trained, so you can train to learn a skill. Learning a language, you can get proficiency in language.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like I'm in my game. If the party decides to take time and like learn stuff, I think I had it to where it takes a week to learn a skill, like habitual 8 hours a day doing like they do nothing else other than that. And then learning a language, I think it was like 30 days into PHP. I'm not 100% sure where I read that.
In Xanathars, they do it as learning a language is 100 days, and then for each intelligence modifier you have, that's 10 days less. So
That's
if you
not
have,
bad.
right, so 50 days if you're really smart to learn a new language. I like the idea for doing with skills. It's based on whatever the stat that skill uses instead.
That makes sense.
Because you could be, a 20 intelligence wizard, but you have a 10 strength. That doesn't mean that you're going to pick up athletic things. Because
Really
you're not
quickly.
physically capable of picking them up as fast.
Yeah, now I think about it, a week does not sound like a lot. Like you really cannot get but so much better at something after a week. Like yeah, like you'll do good, but you're not like skilled and like proficient in something at that point. So no, I agree with that. 100 days doesn't sound bad. So when I think about it, it's actually reasonable. Because what is it saying? Like it takes 3 months to develop a habit or something like that. So that makes sense.
And there's like wizards don't get armor proficiency, so having them train to learn how to use armor or weapons, it makes scary characters already more scary because a wizard could be like, all right, you're the rogue is a skill monkey, and you're like, let's just teach the rogue more stuff, like, let's teach the fighter, you teach me how to use a sword, I'll teach you Arcana, which doesn't seem like a fair trade per se, but you might use it like if you're playing it as only one person's or one or two people are allowed to roll. The fighter might be by themselves at some point and need to make that roll, and then because they, or especially if they're going into the like Eldritch Knight or stuff. But so I like skill expert because I like the skilled feat. Skilled feat is good because that's 3, but it's just boom, no stats. I like feats that give stats, which funnily enough I think the next 2 don't give stats, but or at least no, only one. The next one doesn't give stats. Because then it doesn't feel like you're wasting your ASI, because you're still getting 1 point out of it. So it's still, regardless of what it's specific to. And this one gives you free reign to pick one stat to boost.
Oh, that's really cool.
So if you had the 5 feats and you took them in, probably the other order, but you take skill expert and you're like strength. And then you took Resilient, and you're like, strength. Now your 10 strength wizard has a 12 strength, and proficient in, plus you're proficient in maybe athletics, and maybe you're proficient in athletics, expertise in athletics, and then next time you take it, you have a 12 strength. So now the wizard is somehow like a Greco-Roman god, like wrestling god. Like, you're like, I mean, not quite, but you're like, how the fuck are you that? Like, somebody's trying to grapple him, he's like, bet. Because
most, if I'm correct, commoners have like a 10 and everything or something like that. It's like if you have an 11 or a 12, you're already above them. So makes sense.
I mean, it'd be a weird direction to go, but it'd be really funny to be like, all right, let's go grapple the wizard, and the wizard's like, all right, and they're like, ha! It's like, joke's on you don't know I have like a plus 12 to my fucking athletics checks. They're like, what the fuck is going on here? So
this wizard not only studies Arcana, he studies how to work out.
He studies you're right, and I like it because while I like the skill feat is good because skills. That's a generic overall good skill. I like Prodigy because it does effectively the same thing as this, but that one is specific to only humans, half orcs, and half elves. Whereas this one, you get to choose an ability score to improve. And the only negative is you don't get a language. That one, I think you got a language and a tool proficiency, which is still pretty good, but you still have to be a human, a half elf, or a half orc. Like that. So this one essentially gives you, and you don't even have to. It doesn't even say that you have to choose the skill that you just picked as your expertise. So you could be like, I want to gain athletics just cause to cover a base, but I really want to still be good. I'm obviously still an expert at Arcana, so I want to get expertise in Arcana.
Yeah.
Or history, or medicine, or
Something that could something that you think would be useful.
Anyway, but yeah, that's.
Excuse me. My second one. Well, again, they're not in any specific order per se, but I really enjoy Keen Mind. So everyone's reason for enjoying Keen Mind is that you remember everything you seen or heard within a past month.
Mm-hmm.
You also get a intelligence score boost of +1 to a maximum of 20. You always know which way is north. You know the numbers of hours left before the next sunrise or sunset, and yeah, obviously can recall everything you've seen or heard. So that's really useful for someone who either A, doesn't take notes, like I usually don't. I remember a lot of the stuff that happens in my game regardless. It's like dungeon designs in games. Like I really remember where to go in games like after one or two passes. So it's like, oh, I can remember a map fairly easily. So it's very similar to me, which is weird because a lot of people can't do that apparently.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really easy to remember stuff like that. And so I usually take this for in case I can't remember something, my character would remember it, and then DM has to I put that on the DM. So it's like, all right, like I don't remember this one instance of something like in passing that the DM might say, oh, hey, roll a history check, because like then he could come up with some BS of my character might have heard some random NPC talking about how, say, Stradvan Zarovich is trying to take over the town or something like that. But
Right.
he wouldn't have been paying attention, but he does remember hearing it. So, something like that could come up. And there's plenty of ways that this could come up in general. I do like the idea of using this as a method of planning, like say like it's a wizard, like how in Critical Role season 2 Caleb was, but using it in a different aspect of, hey, how could I learn from the last battle I just took place in to go about saving people or using my abilities in a more ergonomic and streamlined way. There's so many aspects that you really can use Keen Mind other than just not wanting to write notes. So it's really impressive. Like, also always knowing where north is. I don't really mess with direction, and neither does my party. But in a place where or DMs who do use it, like adventuring in the compass rose and all that jazz, like that could come really in handy. Where it's like, hey, we're lost, and it's like north is that way or something like that. So you always know roughly where you're going. It's pretty impressive, honestly. So that's why I usually keep.
I would say the usefulness of Keen Mind is also comes into effect if you're playing like somebody like a sneaky spy type game. Then you could look at secret files, and it's like eidetic memory, and you're like photographic memory, and you're just like looking at everything, and then you're like, okay, and then you leave, and then you could write everything you saw down, type of thing. Like you can speed read your way through a secret document or whatever, and then put it back where you found it, and then go back out to the party, and then after later, so you don't have to take it, so you're not spending time trying to copy it down.
Yeah, like word for word. It's like all you have to do is do a quick speed read, and you're like, okay, and it's like you could read, or more or less, I would say you could look at a whole book in just a few seconds, not a few seconds, obviously, but like in game in a few seconds, and it's just like, all right, like I got this entire novel memorized for some reason, and I could go use this, rewrite it, and do whatever is need be. Like there's so much utility that really could be done with Keen Mind as it is, and I don't really see it used often. Like so many people care about like oh, hey, I'd rather be able to hit harder, or I'd rather make sure that I'm not doing opportunity of attack, which nothing wrong with that stuff. But for me, I try to think of like, and you know me, like we've discussed how I'm usually the role play aspect of things also. So I really enjoy this, which a
Yeah,
lot of my
yeah,
students
but if yeah, once again, if you like, you brought up maps and stuff too. Like if you if you get to see a map of the dungeon that you're about to go into, you don't need a copy of it, you know, because you.
yeah, like imagine that. It's like you go in, it's like, hey, your character's like, okay, I'm like really good with maps. Like, let me look at this. And it's like, they don't believe your character. Like, say you guys just recently got started. It's like, yeah, you're going to go into this low level dungeon. You're like, okay, let me read the map. Where are the traps? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, there's a trap over there. It looks like it's already triggered, but let's make sure to be a little bit careful because you never know if it resets or something like that, you know?
Be like actually a perfect example of that is Captain America in the Captain America movie.
The
Because
first one, I'm assuming.
yeah, in the first one, he sees the map of where all of the German the Hydra strongholds are. Briefly, when he's rescuing Bucky.
You know, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, somebody pointed it out. I think in some other video that he has.
I haven't seen the original Captain America movie in fucking ages. So it's like,
I think I watched a video where somebody was talking about his dead memory and brought up that and how they did show it in the movie, but like that's a perfect example. Like anything, you know, if you're investigating, it's like it can be really useful. I mean, always knowing which way is north. It doesn't hurt. It's not. There's no negative to that. And you know, hours left before the next sunrise or sunset. If you're underground,
type that, like, if you're trying to
or
stay
if
on
you're
the,
hiding, or if you're specifically hiding because you know that maybe you're hiding from vampires or something, and you're and you know that you can't come out until sunrise, and so you don't want to, you know, kind of like what you do in Minecraft, where you just kind of block yourself off if you get in a
if you
bad
don't have a
place.
house and bed built.
Right, and then you just wait for daylight to come, but you don't want to have, you know, type of thing. So it can have its uses. Just because we're not thinking of any. If you think of any people who are watching this, let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments because we're only two
So
people who were tired.
um, then it's still there's a lot of uses out of it that you could get.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot more than what we're just discussing. Like, also, like, I kind of could well, no, because you have a month, but like, if you don't have the ability to write like for like our wizards, you could write down a spell scroll. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
something you could write it down and then like start learning from that. I would assume like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I would allow it because you technically have it like written down in your brain. So it's like if you write it down and then like make your own spell scroll out of it, like you could technically learn it. So like that's one way to really cheat out some magic shops. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, can I see this scroll real quick? You just read it and you're like, okay. And then you look back at it. It's like you only had it for like a minute or two, and then you just go back out, write it on your own spell scroll, and you're like, now I have this like ninth level spell. Like that'd be
Yeah,
fucking.
but you can also use it um, as a manipulation tactic too, if you think about it, because it's very much that like person read it and then you burn the thing, and that's the only copy type of
That's
thing, like of whatever document it is. That is the only copy, and
yeah.
so
Like
you know
someone has blackmail.
right, and you're like they're like boom, you're like all right fine, you're like you caught me, and you burn it. You're like look now nobody has it, and they're like maybe get your ass kicked a little bit, but then they leave, and then you're like cool because I looked at it. Now I have all this information, and
It's like yeah, like this. It's like it was a forgery of say like this noble who ended up doing some sort of stuff with like say a commoner, which apparently is always an issue. So it's like you're trying to uh blackmail into getting some sort of favor, you know? And it's like, yeah, I won't say anything, get roughed up a bit, and then it's like, hey, like I have this document. It's like, how the fuck did you get that? And you have every single detail put down, which is
right.
relatively impressive. A blue light just like flashed over here and it's weird.
It's the
And
Pogo
like,
run.
it's weird because like it's just the ring light, and like either I just like really noticed it, so it like popped on my screen, or it's weird.
All right, so my third is, um, I guess this one could be less useful depending on what your wrong one. But Artificer Initiate from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
I need to read that.
You've learned some of an artificer's inventiveness. You learn one cantrip of your choice from the artificer spell list, and you learn one first level spell of your choice from that list. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for these spells. You can cast this feats first level spell without a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it in this way again. You can also cast this spell using any spell slots you have. You gain proficiency with one type of artisan's tools of your choice, and you can use that type of tool as a spellcasting focus for any spell you cast that uses intelligence as its spellcasting ability. Now, your rogue, your wizard, your fighter can all learn Cure Wounds without having to dip into another class.
You know, there's also Magic Initiate that works very similar, but is that specific towards Artificer?
This one is specific Artificer.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. So, what's the difference between Magic Initiate other than that one's just class specific? Is there a little bit more that goes into it? Because I'll look at Magic Initiate real quick, because that was actually one of the ones that I was thinking about, because it says for Magic Initiate, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard, 2 cantrips of your choice.
Right.
In addition, you learn a first level spell of the same list using this feat and cast a spell of its lowest level. You must finish a long rest before you can cast it again. Spellcasting ability for the spells depends on the class, so Charisma for Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wisdom for Cleric or Druid, or Intelligence for Wizard. So it seems like you only can cast it once as a first level spell per long rest, whereas you don't know it fully.
They're probably going to reword that when they do the revamped books in 2024, I think.
Is that going to be 5.5? Like, that's what I'm hearing. Is
I don't know. I think essentially, yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, Magic Initiate's probably a little bit better.
But I was just wondering, like, really the difference. That's
you get a cantrip and a spell, so you only lose out on one spell. Mm-hmm. You can cast it. That feat doesn't say that you can cast it with your spell slots. So technically, if you're a Eldritch Knight or the Thief Caster, the Rogue Spellcaster class.
I know what you're talking about. I'm just Arcane Trickster.
Arcane Trickster. That is added to there. So now you can cast. You know how mind blowing it is when the fighter's like, "You're doing all right there," like, you know, you're an Eldritch Knight and you're usually doing good damage, but you're like, "Whew, you're looking a little rough there," and you heal the cleric or
I'm like, imagine like you're a wizard who, like, because a wizard doesn't have any access to healing spells, so you're wizard. It's like, I really enjoy Healing Word over Cure Wounds now for the sheer fact that you can use it as a distance rather than like, hey, D8. It's like, hey, a D4, but you're up at a distance. So like the wizard who is like 60 feet away, he's like, aha, Billy Bob Thornton down there is really hurting right now. He's unconscious and there's an orc about to smack the hell out of him. I'm going to cast a first level Healing Word just to make sure that he's not dead. But obviously you can't use it again until your long rest.
They don't get Healing Word. They do get Cure Wounds, though. So
Artificer?
Artificer gets Cure Wounds. They don't get Healing Word.
It was just, I saw it, Bard, Cleric, Druid, like all the royal spellcasters, so they get the ability. I just thought that would be pretty impressive. Like,
but I mean, it's still, Artificer for first level spells: Absorb Elements, Alarm, Catapult, Cure Wounds, Detect Magic, Disguise Self, Expeditious Retreat, Fairy Fire, False Life, Featherfall, Grease, Identify, Jump, Long Strider, Purify Food and Drink, Sanctuary, Snare, and Tasha's Caustic Brew, which is kind of a nifty new spell. And then they have a huge list of, so I mean, you could technically do the same thing with Magic Initiate, but then you also get a tool proficiency.
Oh, see, that's where that goes.
Which, I just like Artificers better. So, and, so that would be, think about it, like, you're sneaking in somewhere as you're, you literally said it, and I can't remember, Arcane Trickster, and you're like, I don't have any weapons, I got my I got my, carpentry tools though. And they're like, all right, come on in. And you're like, look at me with my carpentry tools. Do. I'm not a threat. Whatever. Mage hand or what. There's a million different things you could do. But, and it's once per day or once per long rest. But you're like, I cast the Artificer spell using my carpentry tools. So, it's as long as you have access, and it doesn't even say that you can use that type of tool as spell casting focus. Okay. Artificers, I think, can use any of their tool proficiencies. So, but
you see this screwdriver? Expelliarmus.
Right. So it gives you access to Artificer stuff. There's good role playing, or there's good additional downtime activity stuff because now you have a tool proficiency. So now you can do stuff. Plus, wow, this guy is not a threat. He only has carpentry tools, and you're like, haha, motherfucker, fireball. Whatever. I don't know what spells in arcade tricks.
Just imagine you have like a sanding to like you have a like sandpaper in your hand, like the paper, like the actual thin stuff, right. Like not like a whole like tool, but it's like you're just like holding it up, and it's like fireball. It's just cast right from the sandpaper. It's like, dude, that'd be so nasty.
Right. So, magic missile. You just pull out a nail gun. You're like, it's magic missile. But yeah, that's me.
That's fucked up. I like it though. So this wasn't my next one on the list because I'm going bottom up, but Observant, pretty damn close to, at least to me, it goes like usually hand in hand. If I'm trying to take Keen Mind or Observant, it's really hard to tell.
That's my number one feat, by the way.
It is Observant.
Yeah.
Knew we were gonna have one.
Had to happen.
Again, like these aren't even like in any real order for me. But you have a +1 to intelligence or wisdom for the score. You can read lips of a creature if you can see the mouth and understand the language. You get a +5 to passive perception and passive investigation. It wasn't for the fact that I read this like 2 months ago, I never would have noticed that we have a passive investigation.
Technically, you should have a passive on every skill.
I never knew that.
I think they just it's a weird feat, but it rarely ever comes into effect because in all of the modules, they use your or anything. It's passive perception for being ambushed or noticing a trap, where it should be your investigation to notice a trap.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I understand if it's like, hey, you just quickly notice as the party is like about to step on something, like you just notice that you're about to walk on a trap. But if it's like, hey, you spot this from 60 feet away, that'd probably be investigation rather than perception. Right.
It's yeah, like I was saying, that's my number one. So now I get to discuss it here instead of there. Yeah. 1 to intelligence or wisdom doesn't hurt. If you're playing a wizard or any of the classes that use wisdom, I mean, if it's especially if you have an 11, 13, 15, 17, or 19 in your wisdom, boom! Now you get that even number.
Yeah, that's something I talking about using these abilities. Like the ability score improvements, I'm going to say, not necessarily the actual ASI, but taking a feat to get ability score improvement. My friend Demetrius, he had it to where like he switched classes like day of us about to start a campaign. So obviously, Gisalt, we're trying to figure out where his skills are going to go again. And he was thinking, oh, I'll just put this +1 into my Constitution so I get a 9 instead of an 8 because we did the stat array, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, don't do that. You need your +1 into, I think he's a blood hunter. So we said wisdom instead of intelligence because he has a lot of wisdom-based saves. So we're like, just do that. And he already had a really high intelligence. I think he put the 15 there. So it's like, hey, just boost your I think it was 14 to a 15 because he also had a racial feat. And so he got like 2 15s, he has a 14, and he has like the rest as normal stuff. And it's like, you're solid. Just leave it there. You're really good at what you need to be really good at. And using that to your advantage with the racial feats and stuff like that. Usually that's what I care about. It's like, is my racial class or my race going to help my class? Because you don't want to play a race who's not going to benefit it, at least to me. So it's like, am I going to really play a tiefling if it's not going to benefit the class and boost these scores? Obviously, I roll completely differently, but everyone's a little bit differently than I am. I also am very, very much an elf fan, so
yeah, I try to build my characters the same way, where it rarely ever comes off as me trying to min-max, just because I find a way to make it fun.
Like,
but I literally one of the characters. I haven't played a whole bunch for an extended period of time, but one of the characters I played for a while was a Tabaxi barbarian / druid originally, but then warlock. He's druid changed to warlock because he made a pact. But so I'm not built. I'm not a strength con character race. I am a dexterity charisma race. So that, but that once again, that covers some, because I'm a barbarian with like a 16 dexterity. I think I had a 20 strength, a 16 dexterity, and like a 16 constitution. So my armor class is a 16. But I've good hit points. My like I can run around naked. I'm really fast. So I'm glad that they're taking negatives out, because I was would play a Cobalt Barbarian or an Orc Wizard, just to, because you can make anything can be effective. The whole races are, you can't play, let me word it correctly, unoptimized builds. And like, fuck you, no, I'm going to build the coolest Cobalt Barbarian to ever exist. Anyway, Observant. I love Observant. It has come in handy so many times, because if there's illusions, my brother, essentially, we made the joke that my perception score was too high. That essentially, he made a joke that he was going to have me miss things. I don't recognize what the painting is, because I'm too distracted by the fact that there's a thread overlap. You see, right there, there's a thread overlap, and I can see it, and it's irritating the shit out of me. But I don't see it's force for the trees situation.
That is probably because I've had it where I've had a character with a 25 perception, passive perception, because I'd have because obviously passive perception's 10 plus your proficiency plus your whatever. We didn't get the +6 proficiency yet. I think it was just the +5, and then I got this feat on top of it. It's just like, it's so disgusting to see how because what was it like, if you have a passive perception above X amount,
20,
you can, it's like you hear people in your sleep or something.
Yeah, you can't sleep when people are talking nearby.
That would suck. Imagine you'd have to keep something to keep your ears plugged, so you would have no real way to engage, with say your party got snuck up on, and the people who were taking watch didn't notice, and everyone screamed, but your ears are completely plugged, so you're just completely passed out. Unless someone's going to take it their action, if your DM's not nice, to wake you up, and then you're just looking around, you're deafened now, so you whatever issues with coming with deafened is kind of a few things that could be.
I don't think it would be that bad, but
if you have a bard, it'd be terrible, because you can't be inspired.
I think if you can see, they could be like, eh. And you're like, yeah,
juggling in the middle of everything, so throwing swords around.
And you're like, all right, I'm inspired. I know they have to hear you, but I would rule it as
if
something, they role played it and they're like,
I've actually had that happen. One of my players, who is a bard rogue, I was like, all right, so what do you do to this character? And she goes, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting you to actually make us do this type of stuff. So she's used to it by now, but she was like, I just do the finger guns. And I was like, you had nothing, did you? And she's like, no. And I was like, yeah, take your whatever the thing is. And I was like, that's actually funny.
But, if you can see a creature's mouth while it's speaking a language you understand, you can interpret what it's saying by reading its lips. That's great. Once again, it's not a top tier thing, but if you're playing in a game and somebody's in a zone of silence and you're like, or once again, this is great for like an espionage, gathering information, spy-ish, whatever type game where, like, cause I took my wizard was gonna take this. The reason he took this is it boosted my perception, it boosted my intelligence, and the ability to read people's lips. The game was supposed to be like political and whatnot in Thay. So it made sense that it's the dog eat dog world. The people always trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
So that's why I was going towards it, and it's a good feat. I mean, it's getting a +5 to your passive perception never hurts, because if you're not proficient, suddenly now you have a 15, 16, 17, whatever. If you are proficient, now you have a 20 something. Like I've mentioned my Blood Hunter before, and we're gonna go over it when we do the Blood Hunter subclass video. But like having a ridiculously high passive perception, you're like, ha ha ha! I heard that. Like, I smelled that. I saw that. Like, it's...
And you already get advantage with perception checks dealing with sight or... I think it's...
smell. Hearing and smelling.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is also good if you're playing in a game where the GM likes to keep screwing you over by ambushing you. Like, you could take the alert feat, or you could take this one, and suddenly now your passive perception is a lot higher.
Alert is actually one of my other ones.
So, alert's a good feat.
Yeah, alert is really good.
So observant's great. This means that I don't have to go over it.
Welcome.
So I guess my last one now, because we took my number 1 slot, is Mending Affinity from the Tal'Dorei. Yeah, I can say words. Tal'Dorei campaign setting book, which technically, the GM might not allow people to take this, but. Your body has begun to adapt extremely well to healing itself through extraordinary means, gifting you the following benefits. Increase your con score by 1 to a max of 20. When a creature uses a healer's kit to stabilize you when you are dying, you also regain hit points equal to your proficiency modifier. Whenever you regain hit points as a result of a spell, potion, or class ability, you regain additional hit points equal to your proficiency modifier. So... you are a fighter. You use your second wind. You add your proficiency modifier on top of what you gain from that, which you get that one back every short rest.
That's like upwards to what, a +6?
Yeah.
For your proficiency?
Wow. Also, if you notice, it says class ability. So if you want to be real broken, Paladin. They just use their land hands to heal you 1 point. And now you're healing 1 plus your proficiency modifier, and then they do it again, and it's 1 plus proficiency modifier. So they can easily...
That's so smart.
Yeah, if you were the paladin, you could just use a little bit of your stuff, and you could keep yourself topped up really well. You're like, I'm going to use 5 points and heal myself 5 times. I'm going to heal myself 5 times, and then we're level 5, so that's I'm healing myself 20 points.
You're gonna have to text me what that one is so I can literally use that. I'm playing a paladin sorcerer right now, so I'm gonna use that with lay on hands because we're currently playing a demonic invasion, so that health points will come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it.
Also, this applies if you have the healing ability like the self healing ability that
like a regeneration.
Like champions get. I think champions get it. The fighter subclass, but also the at level 11, the Order of the Lycan gets it, where they heal as long as they're below half hit points, they heal like they're a certain amount. So this adds to that. So you can actually be pretty rugged. Like that increases your survivability. If you fight smart and you can make it so that you're only getting attacked by like 1 or 2 people, You know, you could do one of those like 300, 300 situations where their numbers mean nothing.
Yeah, at 18th level, Survivor champion, at the start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus Constitution modifier. If you have no more than half your hit points left, you don't gain this benefit. You have 0. Sorry, like I had to go check it out.
No, it's fine. Which I mean, at high levels, then you're getting hit real hard. But that just means that you're healing 5. It was 5 plus con modifier.
+6. Like if you're at that level.
So 5 plus hopefully 5 plus 6. So you're healing 16 hit points every round.
On top of your second wind.
On top of your second wind, and if anybody heals you, also the Order of the Lycan does it naturally as long as they're in their wolf form. Like, this is good regardless of what you are. If you're a wizard, this is useful. If you're a cleric, this is useful. If you're a bard, this is useful. If you're a barbarian, this is useful. Regardless of class,
and that's still just on top of just healing. This is not including everything else.
Right. This is in addition to, plus con score. Once again, if you have that at a random odd number, especially if you're a wizard and you took like an 11 or 13, your strength is a 10 because who needs strength as a wizard? But you do a 13 or an 11 in your con, boom, you take this. Now you have a 12. So now you have, 1 more hit point per level. Plus, if you get knocked out, then this actually adds to the usefulness of healer's kits.
Which I take the healer's feat because if I'm playing a non-magical character, I think the healer's feat is pretty useful.
Right. Also, if you have this is once again a good. If you have a Grave Domain cleric, you get dropped instead of them using a healer's kit. They just cast Cure Wounds. It's maximized because of their ability. If you look at Grave Domain, if they cast a healing spell on somebody who's at 0 hit points, it's maximized for them.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
So
I have not looked at so many classes.
So now your wizard, instead of having maybe the bard was going to heal you, but it's like no, let the Grave Domain cleric heal him, and suddenly it's just cast a first level healing Cure Wounds. That's 8 plus 5, so that's 13 plus your proficiency modifier.
Should be max of.
If they're out of spells, then somebody can use healing, and it's still good. And then but once again,
so much utility.
This is all exactly. It is good. This is great regardless of class because everybody's going to get hit at some point, and everybody's going to need healing. So if everybody takes this, which seems a little ridiculous, but then you increase you increase the survivability of your entire party by a significant amount. So that's it. I'm done. Somebody stole mine.
Sorry. At least we had one together. So my next one, because it's on the next page, Sentinel. I have not really been taking Sentinel as much as often because we don't at least I don't get to play very often anymore. I just really enjoy not having opportunity of attack per se. So it says you have master techniques to take advantage of every drop in any enemy's guard, gaining the following benefits. Which I know this one is utilizing opportunity of attack more. When you hit a creature with opportunity of attack, the creature speed becomes 0 for the rest of the turn. That I really enjoy because I have seen so many rogues that are like, haha, I'm going to go fuck myself and just dash this way. It's like, no, the fuck you're not. Mainly with the fact that even if they disengage, you can still hit them with opportunity of attack. Creatures provoke opportunity of attack even if they take the disengage action before leaving your reach. That was literally the next part, so I'm glad I segued into that. When a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against a creature other than you, that target doesn't have this feat, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against the attacking creature. I could see, a lot of people don't really use their reactions in my games. So I could see this being used like, hey, this guy gets attacked, so you just quickly swipe over with whatever weapon you have, dealing a little bit more action damage or attack damage, and this just kind of boosts action economy a little bit more for
Right.
characters who feel like they're not able to do much, say like later levels when the spellcasters are doing X amount of damage because they're absolutely blowing up the battlefield with whatever fucking spells that they have, because spellcasters are OP in later levels. This is their way of just having a little bit more on top of that.
Right.
And again, like I'm now starting to do spellcasters myself, so I'm slowly getting there. But Sentinel was something when I was younger, in terms of getting new to the game. Sentinel was something I always grabbed because my characters always rolled terrible. So it's like, hey, I'd rather have a possibility of hitting rather than having this guy not move at all. So that's something that I always thought about.
Oh yeah, no, we have in my friend's game, my Saturday game that I'm in. We have a paladin and a fighter, and both of them have sentinel. So if either one gets attacked and then the other one gets to attack,
You can't move because then it's just like, oh, you have zero movement.
well,
And
no,
then
because if
like,
when a creature within 5 feet makes an attack, so if the enemy attacks, it's Garrick and Oswald, and
yeah,
if somebody like they swing at Garrick, Oswald gets to smash him, and then they try to move away. They get hit by Garrick
so bad.
and stops their movement. It's suddenly like, well, shit.
And if you have a DM that allow you to do flanking also, that's like an automatic thing of people that aren't even engaged at that specific enemy could flank them a little bit easier for you. So it can stack really
Right.
easily.
Or I was thinking about this, with Sentinel and Polar Master with the, I think we've discussed it before. The Cobalt Monk, the Cobalt Soul Monk,
I think yeah.
with their Mind of Mercury, where they can make attacks of opportunity equal to their. They can spend a key point and they can make it up to their proficiency modifier or wisdom modifier or something like that. So you're just like, fuck it. So they're like, can you imagine how annoying that would be? Where you have a
Like, it's like 5+ like at some point.
yeah,
If
yeah
it's
but
proficiency.
you're fighting something and they're like all right, they're gonna use their first swing, they're gonna throw at the monk. Okay, cool. That misses. Woo, thank God. The second swing they throw at the fighter, they hit the fighter. The monk punches him in the back of the head. Could you stop? The third swing they throw at the other thing. The monk punches him in the back of the head. No, for real. I need you to cut it. Like.
Use action surge. Guess what? You're gonna get punched in the back of the head yet.
Your only choice is to beat the shit out of me.
Oh, that's actually kind of funny. Not gonna lie.
Right.
Like I'm just imagining he's like slapping the back of his head, turns around, stop that, turns back, bam, just smacks him.
Or in combination with, once again, combo feats. Mending Affinity Sentinel, I'm obviously the bigger threat now, because if you do anything near me, I could smack you. You try to move, I hit you. You hit somebody else, I hit you. So now I'm the primary target. Or as a barbarian, and so then I just keep getting poked by somebody. They keep healing me, and I get a ton of hit points back every time they heal me because I get my proficiency modifier. Or Order of the Lycan. I need to play another Order of the Lycan. Because of that shrugging off non-magic damage.
It's so weird. Like my current game, I have 2 blood hunters that are now like not my game, but like my friend's game, Edward. I'm usually the guy who plays blood hunter a lot, so it's like it's so weird seeing how they're now 2 involved in this campaign, and my character is a centaur who's deathly afraid of the dark, so he's consistently using the cantrip light. So when he gets meta magic, he's going to take quicken spell, so he can cast that as a bonus action, and then he's going to take the empowered spell one. Is like I'm going to hit you harder, and I'm going to be able to see because I'm fucking terrified of the dark. Roleplay, man, roleplay.
Right. Anyway, I'm out of feet, so you're.
Sentinel is really useful. My last one, alert. Like I said, I already had alert. +5 to initiative. I actually have a -1 to initiative right now because my centaur has a -1 because his dex was his dump stat. They cannot be surprised while they are conscious. That's a very big thing when it comes to like surprise attacks with rogues also. Other creatures do not gain advantage on attack rolls against you as as a result from being unseen. Advantage on attacks while being unseen is such a rogue thing. If someone else is a rogue, they don't have that sneak attack on you, which is super useful because your character's like, I heard that twig snap from 400 feet that way. It's like, yeah, no, your longbow's not going to hit me, which I know that, isn't that 300 feet?
It's max of 600. I don't remember what the.
I'm not
I think
sure.
it's actually, I think it's 150, 600.
Yeah, we get what I'm talking about.
Right.
But still, it's like it can be useful because it's like if you stack certain feats together, you're not going to be able to be surprised. You could theoretically get away with like avoiding or nullifying someone's disengage action. You could really mess someone up with this, and that's the thing. Like a rogue would be absolutely flabbergasted with alert because not only did you stab them in the neck, like, and that you didn't deal as much damage, they turn around and you're trying to run away. You know, they grab you and grapple your ass. You're kind of stuck and boned for the rest of your day. Mainly when they are considered a size larger than you.
Yeah, no, the alert feat is solid. That +5 bonus to initiative makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, especially, and imagine you have like mobile with it, and you have the movement or whatever class like stats where you can keep increasing movement. Like, I didn't realize how important movement was until recently because it's like my friend has like a +60 to his or S60 movement speed. I'm just like, dude, I'm still at 30. Like you're dashing across this field comparatively to me, and I'm just like a dwarf like trying to waddle at 25. This is okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's once again, it's comboing that with if you're a bard, their jack of all trades applies to your initiative modifier. You have a 5 dexterity. You can have a 13 in initiative modifier.
That's so unfair.
You can't be surprised. So, which means that during the first round of combat, if you would be surprised, you can still act.
Yeah. Which is something that a lot of people tend to overlook, surprisingly. I have talked to a couple players, and either their DMs don't think about it or they're new. So it's like, yeah, like I have this feat, and like I was like, dude, you're not surprised, so you would still go on the surprised round. Yeah. That's what the surprised round means.
Well, it's not. See, that's the thing is that it's what's his name, the guy that does the rules lawyering for the officially. He clarified that it's a condition. So you get you don't get the surprise condition.
While you're conscious, at least.
Yeah. So there's no you still surprised, but see that's why like getting observant, you know, because technically you would have theoretically disadvantage on your perception check, but if you have disadvantage, that is only a -5 to your passive perception, so it's just negating your observant feat. So you still have like a 12. So if they roll poorly, you're still going. If you're something that gets advantage, I really need to play another Blood Hunter. Then essentially it negates itself, so you just get your normal, whatever your normal is. Like, so you can't, if you're awake, you're not surprised. So if you play something, that's a good thing to be with something that, if you have 2 elves, one elf takes the first 4 hours, the other elf takes the other 4 hours. Both of you take the alert feat. One of you's a fighter, one of you's a rogue. Now you can justify throwing that into a feat so that, you know, because you get a ton of feats. You're both going first. Once again, that would also work well with the that combo that I mentioned during the fighter, the Purple Dragon Knight, because now both of us we both get a +5 to our initiative, so I'm going to use my stuff. They're near the rogue, so I'm going to use my stuff, and then I'm going to use so that the rogue can go, because you're not surprised. So technically, if you're not surprised, you technically still have your reaction. So I go whole hog on this enemy, and then I use my second wind, action surge. So now the rogues can use their reactions to stab something, so they still technically get sneak attack, because they technically went it's a lot.
It's so OP.
It's real good, and then they don't get advantage on it because once again if you can't see them. Yeah. So funny thing is if they're coming up and they're trying to stab you, Um, I mean, you're prone, so you probably don't. But like, they're able to sneak up on you. You're not surprised, and they don't have advantage. So maybe you didn't see them, but you're not surprised, so you can still go. But they attack you, and you're like, haha, fucker.
Get fucked.
So no, it's a good feat. I think it would be a good feat even probably with or without the +5 bonus to initiative.
It is
just
solid
that I would say it's almost circumstantially an overpowered feat.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like the +5 is really just icing on the cake. You don't need that. The fact that you're not going to be surprised while you're like conscious is like 99% of the reason why I take it. Because I'm not going to lie, I've only met one person who uses it just for the initiative feat. Like, he could care less if he's surprised. And I'm like, yeah, no, I think I'm good, because when the DM starts making player characters that they're going to habitually continue to use and they're like always sneaking up on us, I'm going to make sure to like be aware of this, because yeah, your character might not have that issue, but you know, my character, who he knows is oblivious to stuff, you know, it's kind of fucked up. And when he starts getting stabbed in the back a little bit too much, he's going to start paying attention to stuff. So he's going to have his situational reason to take this.
Right. It's a good feat.
Very good.
Mucho el goodo. My Spanish is top tier. But yeah, so that's our favorite feats.
Trying to come up with the Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish.
Well, it's because you're originally from Virginia, not from Florida.
Yeah.
If you're originally
if
from
I was
Florida,
from
probably
I know it.
Spanish. That's our favorite feats. Obviously, there are a lot of great class race combos that can come out of it. I mean, like the mobile feat with the Tabaxi.
I've done that. That's like what a 50
Tabaxi monk with the mobile feat. Like, you're like, woo! But like I said, all of mine are kind of generic race. You know, are not dependent on race or class.
Yeah.
Like Sentinel would be good.
One of mine really was.
I mean, some of your are specific, like you have to be a spellcaster for Elemental Adept.
The Elemental Adept was like the only one. You only had to cast one spell actually for that.
Yeah.
Like,
so if you take Artificer Initiate,
yeah, you're good.
You can take Tasha's Caustic Brew, and then you can take that, or you could just we were discussing, actually, me and my friend. I actually created a feat. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. Oh no, I can't, because I'd have to close this screen to be able to do it. But hold on, let's see if I can pull it up in a feat that I came up with called Brute Strength, and I think I had somebody actually, I think I reworded it. Yep. Increase your strength score by 1 to a maximum of 20. You can wield two-handed weapons with one hand. When wielding weapons this way, you cannot make offhand attacks. Your carrying capacity is treated as if you were one size category higher. You are considered large size for grapple checks or when being swallowed.
I like that.
Yeah, that's one that I came up with on my own. It's mostly for the being able to wield two-handed weapons with one hand, so you can have a shield and a greatsword.
Yeah,
because they don't have Monkey Grip anymore. Monkey Grip is a feat from 3rd edition, which is really good.
Was there ever like a feat or something like that where, or was it? Because I got told in 3.5, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard in 3.5 when you dual wielded, like you got to make an attack and then you made like the secondary for free. Is that true?
Essentially, yeah, but you had negatives to your attack modifiers.
I wasn't told about the negatives, but like some dude who has played AD&D on up, he's like, yeah, like 3.5, because he's used to playing 3.5. He's like, we get to do this, and so it's like, yeah, why not? But I didn't know about the negatives. He hasn't been able to play and won't be able to play for like 4 weeks because of his job. But
yeah, no, in 3rd edition, it was you would need to take the 2-weapon fighting feat and ambidexterity, and you want them to both be light weapons, and then you would still take a -2 to both of your attack rolls. But whenever you make an attack with one hand, you can also make an attack. And then there's later feats that essentially you need to have, because it's when you get up to a +6, you can make, for every 5 increments of 5, whenever you get another swing. So when you get to +6, you get another swing at +1, because usually it's your highest swing is +6. then your next swing would be at +1. So that's 2 swings, which means then you can make. Then you have to take the feat that allows you to make off. So it's you kind of had to scale it. It really only worked with like fighters because they had the feats to scale up with the amount of attacks you could do. My brother played a fighter rogue cleric in 3rd edition that used daggers, and he was nasty. At some point, he got boot daggers, so he would make 12 swings in a round.
Jeez.
And then he made the joke that he was going to show Shar his 13th swing. It's my brother. He's my older brother. What do you expect? I don't
even necessarily get the joke, but it just sounds funny.
His 13th swing.
I still don't get it.
Can he use his other dagger? Wink, wink, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Penis. He's going to use his penis.
No, I got it after that.
I sent him a picture because somebody's like, if you combine a monk, I know this is stuff for after we're done recording, but it's too funny to me. A Bard Monk sub multiclass. This is Sam Comerford on Twitter. A Bard Monk's multiclass is called a Funk. And I was like, my brother played one named Cole Medina. There's the song Funky Cole Medina. But also, the Funk's your brother. The Funk, my brother. My brother is the Funk. I was like, this joke has layers.
Like an onion.
Like an onion. Or parfait. Ain't nobody don't like no parfait. Anyway, we're over an hour right now.
Yeah, I can tell.
So, thanks for watching. Those are our top 5-ish favorite feats. I'll catch you all next time. I'm Kalvin.
I'm Brandon.
Bye. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And now you get to listen to the outro song. And that's the outro song. Yeah.